From WCI 3 Plus, with your host Kevin Lighty, this is Behind the Forecast.
Hey everybody, welcome in. It's the first ever Behind the Forecast. I am so excited to have you guys here with us. My name is Kevin Lighty. I'm the Chief Meteorologist at WCIA 3. Excited to bring you this show. It's going to be a behind-the-scenes look into forecasting, a little bit more in-depth into the weather, a little bit more than what you get during the 3 minutes that you usually watch us on television. We're just giving that weather forecast. We're going to have interviews. We're going to talk to people that are impacted by weather on a daily basis and just kind of talk to them and see how weather impacts them, and then get some behind, the scenes interviews with people that I think you're going to really find interesting, that are in the weather world, that are in meteorology. We'll talk science. We'll talk space sometimes. We'll talk anything that is exciting when it comes to weather and meteorology, and we're going to have some fun with it. So here's what's coming up later on in the show. Illinois baseball coach Dan Hartleb is going to be with us, and he's going to talk a little bit about baseball and weather, and that's going to be an exciting interview. Now, this show is always going to start off with what is known as the viral weather videos of the past week or so, and talking about kind of what's been going on, not just here locally, but across the country. So, without further ado, let's get into video number one. We take you out here to portions of North Dakota, Hettinger County, we're being told here. Take a look at that rainbow. Beautiful shot. And you're looking pretty much right into the cumulonimbus cloud. We'll pause it right there. Freeze it. There we go. And you can see the rainbow. That's just a beautiful view that we're getting of the cumulonimbus cloud and the rainbow. So kind of a cool view that we've got there into North Dakota with storms that came through. Unfortunately, also, with the storms that we had there in North Dakota, they actually had some severe weather as well. So we're going to take a look at some of the severe weather that occurred into portions of North Dakota. Cass County Sheriff's Office there in Enderlin, rural Enderlin, tornado damage there to a residence, and unfortunately there were a few deaths there from this tornado in North Dakota. So you can see a lot of damage there as storms rolled through the area. So we have had some severe weather over the past week, mainly across the northern portion of the country. You can see all of those. I mean, just look at all of those different trees and what that are down there. And you're talking about a lot of damage. And so obviously we get a lot of that here in central Illinois as well, but they got it pretty good down there in portions of North Dakota. All right, let's move along here. Next video, how about this? This is a water spout down in Florida, Tampa area. You can see here off in the distance there. So essentially, a water spout is a tornado, but it's over water. Water spouts, they can do some damage, okay, if, they start to come on land, but when they're over water, obviously, they're just picking up water. Now, obviously, if there's a boat out there, that would be some bad news. You wouldn't want that. But down there, you can see into Florida, they get a lot of these, okay, especially during hurricane season. So you'll get the occasional water spout. So similar to a tornado, but essentially, it's just kind of hanging out over water. All right, video number 4. Oh, are you kidding me? Is it snowing? I know you're saying we've had so much heat and humidity here lately. Where is it snowing? Well, that is California. Footage from the UC Berkeley Central Sierra Snow Lab shows a wintry scene there. How about that? It's at their outpost in Soda Springs. So snow in June. Isn't that great? How many of you would like to have some snow with how much heat we've had here as of late, right? Some snow would be pretty good. But what's wild is it wasn't just California. No. Let's move along and take you to Montana. Red Lodge Mountain. How about that? Look at the ski lifts there. Ski resort talking about, hey, we got some snow. 4 inches of snow. Taking a break from summer activities for a little bit of snow, but didn't last long. Pretty wild there. Red Lodge Mountain in Montana. We go from some of the snow that they've had there, okay, Look at that, 4 inches of snow. Look at that video. Look at that. Isn't that wild? We go from that to this. Check this out. This is our pick here of the week, and that is going to be a road that buckled because of the heat, but it was caught on camera. You're literally going to watch this little part of the street here. Watch this. There's going to be a vehicle. Look at right there, kind of center part of your screen. You're going to watch there, kind of by the mailbox there and whatnot. Oh, and that car just ramps it. Isn't that wild to watch that happen? Goodness. All of that because of the heat. Again, you got the expansion, that's happening as things, really get hot and then they cool down and retract. And so you can get those roads to buckle. There it goes. Here we go. Airborne. There you go. Those are our viral videos here of the week. Wild weather, snow, tornadoes, water spouts, roads buckling. Just goes to show that, the weather is active and fun. Coming up, Illinois baseball coach Dan Hartleb joins us. Stick around. We'll take a short break. And welcome back to Behind the Forecast. So one of the things we're going to be doing during the show is bringing in various guests to come in and talk to us about the weather, how the weather may impact their everyday jobs, their duties, and weather affects so many people in so many different ways. There is one man that I talk to a lot about the weather. His job is outside most of the time, especially on game days. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in Illinois baseball coach Dan Hartleb. How you doing, Dan?
I'm great. How are you?
You know what? I can't complain. Things are going good for us here today, and it's cool to have you in here in the studio to talk weather. Again, me and you talk a lot of weather during the course of the season and whatnot because, the weather impacts a lot of what you guys are doing out there on the field a lot, right?
Well, I wear you out on a regular basis. We usually start Monday dealing with a Tuesday game, and then we start on Wednesday trying to make plans for how we're going to handle our weekend series and texting you about 7 in the morning on Saturdays and Sundays when you're off. So, I wear you out on a regular basis because it's vital that we have accurate weather, and you've been very helpful and been very, very important to us getting games in on a regular basis.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that, and I'm honored that you even asked me to help you guys out. I guess some people may be surprised to know that you have a big say in the games and whether they play or not. Can you talk a little bit about kind of that process and kind of how, if you've texted me and I've given you some advice about something, how you really do have that say? It is you kind of making that call.
Well, to give you a lot of background probably, the first part is I've always said it's easy to be on the road because you just sit in the hotel and you wait for the opposing coach to give you a call, kind of tell you what's going on, and then make decisions. When you're at home, there's a lot on your plate. You look at just a regular weekday game, fairly simple. The teams are usually local or fairly local within a couple hours. And is the weather going to clear up by game time? Can we get the game in? Do you get on the bus at 11 o'clock and head in, or do we cancel the game? Those seem to be fairly simple. When you start looking at weekend series, when we're playing Friday, Saturday, Sunday, sometimes we have TV involved where we're trying to make really good decisions to see if we can play in the window that they have scheduled. But so many times throughout the season, we get into situations where we're playing double headers because we're going to have inclement weather on either a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. And so that starts with the coaches. We talk back and forth. It really starts, and I don't mean this arrogant, but it starts with me because I've got to try to look at apps and figure things out, and then that's where you come into play. Try to get to you as quickly as possible, get your opinion, which is always, very good and very solid information, and then talk to the opposing coach. We come up with a plan. We take that to our administrators. The administrators take it to the Big Ten, and sometimes it goes to Big Ten Network. So there's a lot involved, but we have to watch weather on a regular basis from a game standpoint. You also have to watch it for practices and even travel. It affects air travel. It affects so many things. And so we are an outdoor sport, and it's easy to see how it affects you on game day, but there's many other things it affects for us.
So much that goes into it, very complex, making those kind of decisions and calls. And I mean, I have to tell you guys, when he texts me, I'm like, I'm more nervous giving the forecast to him for his game than I am on the air when I'm talking to, 50,000 people. I'm like, I don't want to get this wrong. So I'm looking at all the models too, trying to get you what I can, because we want that to be right for you. Because again, obviously playing on a wet field, not great, right?
It's not ideal, but we do have turf, so that is a factor in helping us get games in. But what I've always said is we owe it to our players and the rest of the conference to figure out how to play every game every year. And our players work really hard. They want to play games, and then if you look at conference standings and someone doesn't play a game, it has an impact towards the end of the year. And whether we're a great team that year or whether we're a team that's very average, you should play every single game. And so, leaning on you has been really, really vital over the past number of years for us getting all of our games in.
You've been coaching for a long time.
I'm not that old. Watch the way you say that.
No. An experienced coach, a knowledgeable coach. What's kind of been the craziest weather that you have had to play a game through? Do you remember a certain time, whether it was cold or heat or storms, or is there one time that you can really recall?
Well, I'll go with two. So early in my career as an assistant, we're playing up at Michigan, and they had natural surface at that time, and they're trying to put the tarp on. The winds picked up. It's just like, it was fairly calm, breezy, and all of a sudden the winds picked up. It was a really cold day, so we jump out to help them with the tarp. It actually started sleeting sideways, and we had a former player of ours by the name of Forey Wells who was also a football punter. Forey was about 6'5", probably weighed about 240 pounds, and the wind and the tarp picked him up and threw him about 20 feet in the air. So the power of Mother Nature was on display there.
Okay, what?
Wait a minute. You notice I didn't say anything about Illinois Field because you always have the weather perfect.
Well, I was going to say, I love all these calls about these other places where you're playing.
You have it perfect for us.
Where they're getting bad reports over there. Ideal weather conditions to play baseball in. Give me the perfect weather conditions that you would love to have and play and coach a game in.
Well, I think some of the most enjoyable games at Illinois Field are Friday night games. We usually start about 6:30. 6:30 range, and the wind just dies down. The flags hang straight down. It's a true ballpark. It's not, you can't hit one out because the wind's blowing in. You can't get anybody out because the wind's blowing out. It's almost ideal, and I would say about 70 degrees, no wind, just a perfect night for fans to come out in a light jacket and just enjoy the game.
I like it. So tell me if you believe in this. And there's a little bit of science behind it, and I've looked into a little bit more, and I'm curious your thoughts, that for the long ball to go, the more humid it is, the further the ball can fly potentially, because you've got the humidity, it's muggy. Would you kind of have that same assessment that some of those warmer, more muggier days that the ball will fly a little bit more?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt that when it's warmer, that the ball flies further. And I think there's a couple factors there. The barrel of the bat's a little bit warmer, so you get a little bit more trampoline effect. Same thing with the baseball. The ball is warmer, and so you're going to get a little bit more trampoline effect. And then, obviously, the atmosphere, has a lot to do with it. One thing that'd be really neat for people to look at and kind of research is if you look at San Diego, the Padres, their field sits slightly below sea level, and it has a major effect on how the ball breaks for the pitchers, how velocity is affected, and how the flight of the ball is affected. So weather conditions, sea level, you look at Colorado, the Rockies, not a great place for pitchers. Ball flies there, right, because the altitude, and warm weather, cold weather, altitudes. I mean, all those things have a major effect on the game, both pitching and hitting.
During the course of the game, how often are you adjusting potential strategy of a game, knowing maybe weather's coming in or how the weather has, kind of been playing to the game so far? Like, talk about during the course of the game having to adjust because of weather.
Well, I think the first piece to that is in an actual game, it's really important that your players check the flag all the time. Because the weather, the wind can slightly change, and then the ball's going to carry a different, further in a different direction. If the wind's blowing out hard to right field, the ball in left field is going to get knocked down, or even fly balls that start at the left fielder may end up a little bit more towards center. You have to look at you mentioned a wet field's not great to play on. So on a turf field, if you're sliding into second base, you better start pretty early. If not, you're going to slide into left field because you just continue to slide on the turf. Balls, when it's wet, outfielders have to take different angles because the ball may hit, hydroplane, skip all the way to the fence, where if it's kind of a dry field, then it's not going to travel as far. On a wet field that's a natural surface, ball that's kind of a fly ball may hit and plug more when it's wet. If the ground is soft, if the grass is wet, the ground is hard, it's going to hit and skip more. I mean, there's so many things that you have to be aware of. And then to start a game, this is what's really, really important. You may be able to start a game and get 45 minutes into it and you know you're going to have rain. Usually don't start those games because then you lose your starting pitcher. If there's any long delay, you may get one of your best pitchers that gets to throw maybe 2 or 3 innings on a given weekend, and then he's done. So the start time and the amount of time you have to get into the core of the game is really important to us.
You sound like you know a lot about the weather, Dan. Are you like an amateur, like weather geek nerd, or have you just,
I learned from the best. I listen to you, and I take all of my cues from you.
So while you seem to know a lot about it, how much do your players really do they really kind of take that into account, or is that a lot of you kind of relaying that to them, or how much are they really in touch and with weather for games?
Well, that's a great question. So if you look at statistics and you look at weather, I wish our guys wouldn't look at either one of those. You can psych yourself out statistically. If a team's playing really well or they have a high batting average, you're facing a pitcher has a low ERA. Some of those things can get to you mentally. I wish they wouldn't look at them. From a weather standpoint, I always tell our guys, hey, tomorrow it's supposed to rain. Don't be a weatherman. Be prepared because there will be a window and we will play. Don't sit there and think we're going to have a day off because then they don't prepare themselves mentally. Yeah. So the weather can be dangerous for them if they start looking. I said, let me take care of that. You be prepared. We are going to play. And then it's all in your lap.
Then it's all on me whether I've given the correct forecast or not. That's super interesting because you gotta have them mentally not worrying about that. That needs to be the last thing that they're worrying about, right? You let you worry about the weather, and they kind of focus in on the game.
Well, there's not many days that it rains all day, right? I mean, you usually have some type of window. So whether you're home or away, you just have to be prepared to play. And sometimes, we're supposed to play maybe at noon, and it gets pushed back to 7 o'clock. So you have to be prepared. And so I wish they would never look at the weather, and I always need to look at the weather.
That's fantastic. Dan Hartleb here with us, the Illini baseball coach here, and talking weather and how it impacts, your everyday coaching and whatnot. Prefer to start, so the baseball season, the months that you play in, right? Is there a certain month that you typically have the best luck in weather, would you say?
Usually in May, because we get a little bit later. It tends to warm up a little bit. Sometimes that brings higher winds, but sometimes it dies down. I mean, we've had some. It seems like the past 5 or 6 years has been so inconsistent as far as the weather we have from March through May. The one thing I will say though, the weather also really, and I mentioned this earlier, the weather also really affects travel. And so, the first 3 weekends of the year we're on the road. And it affects us because we have to look ahead and see if we're going to have a flight delays, flight cancellations. Do we need to get a bus there earlier? Can we change our flight, to earlier in the day? Do we need to go later in the day? Are we supposed to go out of Chicago and they're supposed to have a storm? And can we flip our tickets to Indianapolis? I mean, there's so many things that it affects besides just game day. It's actually getting to, from point A to point B so we can play.
have you ever had weather cost you a game or help you win a game? Have you ever had it where something with the weather that cost us? And I know you can't blame the weather. I know that's an excuse. But, have you ever had anything that really made an impact on an outcome potentially of a game that maybe was out of your control or, that really kind of did something during the course of the game?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a number of times where it's had an effect. Early on when turf kind of first came out, I think we were maybe the second or third team in the country that had turf, and you had to learn how to play on it. The ball when it's wet, hydroplane a little bit. But as I mentioned earlier, the worst part is, or the most difficult part, is sliding. You just slide so much further when it's wet, and so there were times, early on we'd slide past the bag. Then you would see visiting teams come in that had no idea, and our guys would just keep tags on guys because they were going to slide past the base. So, yes, weather's had a major impact for us. I would say the other piece to weather that's very, very difficult at times for teams across the country are pop-ups with the wind. We have some high winds here. We're playing in 25-mile-an-hour winds at times, and there's
it's always windy here, it seems like, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you see that a lot in the Big Ten, and I think you've seen it a lot in the northern part of the United States. And it has a huge effect on the way the ball travels. And if you're not prepared for that and you aren't aware of what direction it's blowing, it can create havoc in a game. And we've cost ourselves some games, and we've probably won some games from balls that have fallen that should not have.
At Illinois Field, from a batter's perspective, what direction do you like to have the wind coming from the batter's standpoint? That would be –
Well, from a batter's standpoint, I would say let's have it blow straight out. From a pitcher standpoint, let's have it blow straight in. So we're talking straight out would be northeast.
Okay, yeah. So
a wind, towards the northeast.
Towards the northeast.
So that would be
a
southwest
wind that's blowing towards right field because the orientation of the field is kind of just off center there.
Right field faces east.
Yeah.
And left field faces north.
So those southwesterly winds, kind of like what we've had here a lot here recently during the summer, these strong southwesterly winds, that ball's going to fly on a warm day like today. Horrible day for pitchers, right?
Exactly.
You have to kind of get them kind of, on a day where the wind's blowing out, be like, hey, don't worry about that. Just focus on your game kind of thing, because they're thinking about it. Like, I'm gonna have 3 bombs on me today.
Well, I'm assuming there's probably a lot of people that play golf that are listening.
Yeah.
Right. It has a major effect. Are you with the wind? Are you against the wind? Is it a crosswind because it's going to affect the flight of your ball, especially if you don't hit it pure and don't hit the ball straight on a regular basis? It has a major impact on a golf ball. It does the same thing to a baseball. And so, again, our guys knowing the wind each and every inning, each and every out, it's extremely important.
Dan Hartleb here with us, Illinois baseball coach here. And Dan, we've just got a few minutes left. Any kind of final thoughts here on kind of weather as an overall topic for you, and anything else you'd kind of like to add?
Well, it's always interesting. I've always said when I'm reincarnated, I think I'm going to come back as a basketball coach or an indoor sport, so you don't have to deal with the weather.
Right? Yeah.
But it's always fun. Athletics, you have to adjust on a regular basis, and when you're an outdoor sport, there's many things that you have to adjust to besides what the other team's trying to do. Again, we talked about cold, we talked about heat, talked about humidity, talked about altitude, talk about wet, talk about dry. When it's dry out, the ball's gonna get through the infield quicker. The wind, every single aspect of weather affects us on a daily basis when you're on the baseball field. And so it makes the game interesting. It's all about adjustments, and great athletes are able to do that. Great teams don't make excuses for the weather. The thing that I always tell our players is both teams are playing in the same ballpark on the same diamond with the same weather. And so you learn the weather, you figure it out, you don't complain about it, and get your job done.
I like that. I like that a lot. They'll adapt, adjust, overcome. What's the saying there? Because you got to do that, whether it's the weather doing it or something else in the game. So that's fantastic. Dan, I appreciate you taking the time to come in here, be with us here to talk a bit about weather and baseball. And I got to tell you, Listen, I know the baseball thing's going good for you, but you always got a spot here on the weather team. If you ever want to come in, 'cause you know a lot about the weather. You could probably help us out. We might have a weekend show or something you can fill in on.
I'll come in and co-anchor for you. How's that?
I
I'll
love
let
it.
you be the lead, and I'll just kind of follow you around.
Hey, listen, that would be fantastic. Good luck to you in the upcoming season, and we'll be looking forward to watching you, and I'll be looking forward to getting your texts. And again, and I will just say this: Dan is he's very humble about it, and he's like, he thinks he's bothering. You're not bothering me. He doesn't bother. I will gladly accept this guy's text anytime. Incredible baseball coach, ladies and gentlemen, Dan Hartleb. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate all you do for us.
Absolutely. Well, that does it for our first ever Behind the Forecast. I really hope that you enjoyed the show here. We've got many more to come, and we are really excited to deliver this to you guys, and it's going to be a real fun time to do some behind-the-scenes stuff, talk to some people about what's going on with the weather, and we'll do that here each week for you. I'm WCIA3 Chief Meteorologist Kevin Lighty. Thanks for joining us for Behind the Forecast.